Welcome back to Sane-ish. I'm Jo Carducci. Today we've got a guest who knows how to serve them back fast, often with a side of receipts. Congressman Jared Moskowitz is Florida's own rapid response unit and one of the rare public servants who manages to call out the BS, cut through manufactured outrage, and still have enough stamina left to live tweet the next session. Jared's been on the front lines, whether it's grilling conspiracy theorists in a hearing or reminding folks that government is supposed to help people, not just win internet points. He's the guy who can pivot from disaster response to democracy defense without breaking a sweat or dropping the mic. Before we get to Congressman Moskowitz, I'm going to ask you for a little favor. If you could leave a comment telling me what you're enjoying about this show, I'd be so grateful. I'd like to know what's working so I can get you more of it. If you're not much for words, just tap the stars or the little thumbs up button just to let us all know that you're here. What we're building is for all of us, and I want to make sure we're getting it right. Now, let's welcome Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Welcome to the Sane-ish podcast. It is wonderful to see you. We saw each other in
the Sane-ish.
Sane-ish, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, because you know, when you're talking about Smurfs in Congress and files, no files, and Ice Barbie not doing her job. It's the Sane-ish is the best we can hope for, I think.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, if this is what we can hope for,
yeah.
I mean, actually reminds me of a moment when Matt Gaetz was going after Kevin McCarthy, and the Republicans were defending Kevin McCarthy, and they were like, "He has met all expectations." And Matt Gaetz's rebuttal was, "If Kevin has met all expectations, we definitely need higher expectations."
I mean, the bar has long been pretty much on the floor. So let's just jump in.
We're digging a basement. We're digging a basement over here in Congress.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk about basements because I'm old enough to remember when, the QAnon Republicans said that there was stuff going on in the basement that involved Democrats. But now the Republicans are the ones who are covering for people that may be disclosed in the Epstein files. And can you explain what you all just voted on and what Republicans did in that vote?
Sure, we put an amendment forward just to, put them on the record on releasing the files, which actually is what their voters want, believe it or not, right? MAGA is furious over this whole thing. And every Republican but one voted against releasing the list. Well, I mean, what do you make of this? I mean, I'll tell you my thoughts in a second. I mean, this is your podcast, but I'm going to interview you for a second. But what do you make of this whole thing, right? I mean, there's really only two choices, right? Yeah. They're either we're lying then or they're lying now. That's really the only two choices. And I mean, look, historically speaking, I think they were lying then. But what do you think?
Oh, boy. I think that they just lie, that they're Russian nesting dolls of lies. I think they really stepped in it on this one because they were promising
nesting dolls, like it just you get down to the little one. That was always my favorite.
Right. And I think I remember like a stop motion Sesame Street, like interstitial video or something that had Russian nesting dolls. And I was always fascinated by them. I didn't have any as a kid, but I didn't have many toys to speak of. I'm just kidding. I was the youngest of 5. I had all the toys, but they were broken. But I think they stepped in it on this one because why on earth would Donald Trump, who was on that plane 7 times and was for some amount of time his best friend, have set the expectation in his own party that he would be the one to declassify files that he could very well be named in because he can't. So I don't know what the original lie is. I just know that what I find fascinating is that they keep adding 2 + 2 and it keeps equaling 5.
By the way, the web of this is so interesting, right? Yeah. So Donald knows he's all over this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's photos, they had trips together, right? Whether he's on the official list, if there is an official list, who knows?
Yeah.
But he's all over, the logs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's been well documented. That's not in dispute.
Right.
But then they collectively, Trump and MAGA, decide they're gonna talk about how the deep state is not releasing this information. And like when he's president, he's gonna get it out.
Right.
And, within I don't know, it was the first couple of weeks, Pam Bondi's doing, binders full of nothing, literally empty binders, and making this spectacle. They give it to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, wind up in the administration. Two guys who literally during the campaign made this the centerpiece of why Trump needed to win, and probably why they're both in the positions, that they are, taking on the deep state and getting this information out, because of course the list is going to reveal all of the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
And now we get to the fact that, the list is on my desk, right? It's on my desk. Okay. I happen to believe that she misspoke, but for different reasons. I actually think she doesn't have a desk, but I think there's actually no desk in that office,
that's the lie.
That's the lie. That's the lie, which would have been easier for us to digest.
Yeah.
Anyways, the list is on her desk, right? To now there's no list. And not only is there no list, there never was a list.
Never was a list.
Okay. Meanwhile, there's a minute missing of the Epstein, suicide tape.
The minute he presumably killed himself. Yeah.
And so MAGA is pissed. And so if you're watching, if you're looking at all of this, I mean, it's a perfect mess made by themselves. They've made their own bed here. Now they're lying on it. And then the Wizard of Oz, the president comes in and he's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes.
Who cares about Jeffrey Epstein? No one cares about Epstein. Why are you even talking about it? Let's talk about Hannibal Lecter instead. Boy, that Hannibal Lecter. And of course, Democrats are like, oh, we're going to pull this thread, right? Because we're watching Republicans fight amongst each other. And the polling on this is fascinating, by the way, on Dems, Independents, and Republicans. Okay, the overwhelming majority of Americans believe the Department of Justice is lying. In fact, almost a majority of Republicans believe the Department of Justice is lying. They don't necessarily know what they're lying about. They just know they're lying because people are able to understand, and this is totally broken through, right? But it was on your desk, and now there's no list.
Yeah, it's amazing that it took Jeffrey Epstein.
Am I allowed to drink on your show?
You're allowed to drink. I will cheers to you. I'm having my hi Duncan. This is my third sparked energy today. If you were looking for somebody to promote your delicious products, by the way, cheers.
I don't know what the rule is.
We can drink, we can swear, but anyway, I digress. What I don't understand, it's a cult, right? Is again. This is obvious. Someone's lying.
But they're revolting. Usually they go along, and you're seeing some of the guys pick up Trump's talking points, let it go.
Yes,
but
Charlie Kirk.
95% of MAGA is not doing that.
Yeah, but yeah. So see, that's my question, because Charlie Kirk made the pivot, right? Where Charlie Kirk is like, oh, you know what? I trust the administration.
Yeah, it's like that scene from Friends, right? When he's carrying the couch, right? Pivot.
Right, exactly. But Marjorie Taylor Greene was out there tweeting about how we need to see the files, and yet she was not the Republican, I don't think, who said we're not going to block them. Who was the Republican that voted with you guys, by the way?
It was Norman. Norman voted with the Democrats on releasing the list,
but
and
Marjorie did not.
No, Marjorie, and then just on the floor just now. All Republicans voted not to release the list. So there was a rules vote, and then there was a floor vote. All Republicans voted not to release the list based on the amendment we were trying to do on the floor. But Marjorie's talking about releasing the list, right? Anna Paulina Luna's talking about releasing the list. Laura Loomer's clearly been leading the charge on the list, against Bongi from the beginning, when the whole binder thing was a total, sham and debacle. So listen, let them cook each other. Quite frankly, while we sit back and, pour a little gasoline here and there.
No, I'm all for that. One of the things, I've told you this, that I admire so much about you is that you go on offense a lot.
Oh, wait, go. We're talking about me now. Go on.
This is
my jacket. Go ahead.
I do like your jacket. Is it gray? I can't tell with my, is it gray tweed?
It is grayish with a little lime green stripe.
Oh, there's a lime green stripe. See, that's not coming through on camera, but I really do like your whole ensemble. But this is the portion where I flatter my guest profusely. So
You're great at it, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Really well.
But one of the things you're so adept at, Congressman, one of the reasons I admire you so much is because, and this is truthful, you go on the offense, and going on the offense puts them on their heels and makes them have to respond to you, which means you are now setting the narrative. When often on our side, it has always been that they set the narrative and then we come in to dispute the narrative, which means we're just repeating their narrative. And that's frustrating, and it really just helps them, because even if it's a lie, the more it gets out there into the public, wide, people tend to believe these things. So I appreciate that you put them on the defense all the time, because I think that is important. And here we have an opportunity to do it.
Well, and I think where Democrats changed our strategy, and we did this, during the impeachment, and I think since then, the fake faux Biden impeachment, I think you've seen Democrats since then change their strategy. We used to try to defend stuff.
Yeah.
Right. We used to get into this logical defensive argument. Right. And nuance is gone. Right. And so, Roger Stone, who is a resident of mine. OK, he's always pitched for years about always on offense. So is Carville. Right. It's offense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that you see a lot of members now. Right. Like, don't defend, just, offense.
Yeah.
Turn to offense. Go on the offensive.
Yeah.
And that's how you take the narrative away. And I think Republicans are not prepared for that, because they're not used to Democrats going in the offensive. In fact, I think that's what happened in oversight. We just caught them off guard because they weren't ready for us to be so direct and really use their playbook against them.
Yeah.
And that's what I do from a communication standpoint. I watch what they do. Okay. And I repackage that and give it back to them. And man, they're like snowflakes. It's like the craziest thing to watch. They just can't take it.
Yeah.
And so, especially when they give you the material, right? They're giving us this Epstein material. Yeah. This is not something we found, right? Or created. This is their creation. And so, okay, they've given you a gift. So just take it now and package it to the American people and make them understand. Were they lying then? Are they lying now? And if they were lying about all of this, what else are they lying about?
That's
right?
it.
And that's it.
That's it. And it's sad at the same time that it takes something like this to break through. But whatever it is, this one does make sense. This one is landing. And I don't know how many of the diehard, rank and file, real cultists in MAGA are going to be moved by this, because I'm watching them turn themselves into little pretzels right now, where they're saying like, oh, he wasn't even a sex trafficker, or, oh, Trump is not in the files, or the files don't exist, or whatever it is. There's a bunch that are doing that. Like, it's also not helpful that he's twisting himself into pretzels. There are files.
Yeah,
there are
Epstein,
no files.
Yeah, Epstein killed himself because he had no clients. Right. That's clearly where we're at now.
Mm. And now he's saying that some Republicans, some colleagues of yours I've seen say, or even like Tim Pool's out there saying, Democrats want to release child pornography. That's what this is about. They want to release.
Yeah, look, this is one of the worst sex traffickers in American history. Okay, we have to make sure that we protect the victims. Right, none of the victims' information should ever be out there.
Right,
that is different from who else was in Epstein world. That's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah.
Who was in Epstein world? Who was on the island?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Planes are different. Planes, someone has a rich guy has a private plane. Maybe he lets you use the plane, right? That doesn't mean anything. But who was on the island?
Yeah.
Right? Who took trips to the island? Okay. That, I think, is the information when we talk about the list that the American people are interested. By the way, you ever see the Jesse Waters interview of RFK Jr. on Epstein and his plane?
I think I've seen clips of it.
It's so great. Jesse Waters thinking he knows the answer to this. And I love Jesse. He's hilarious. And so he goes to Robert. He goes, "You were never on that plane, right? You wouldn't be caught dead on that plane." And Robert, without skipping a beat, goes, "No, I was on the plane twice."
Yeah.
It's awesome. You got to find it. It's like one of the best clips.
Yeah, it's a good clip. And also the one with Rachel, or whatever her name is, Campos Duffy, where she asked Donald Trump, like, would you and declassify this file, the JFK file, the MLK file, the Epstein file? And it's like, yes. And well, when it gets to Epstein, he's not.
Trump goes, I would. I would. But then he immediately goes, but there's a lot of reasons not to.
Right, which is a Bill O'Reilly line right now, which is so doth protest too much. But here's my fundamental question about this: that 2 + 2 equals 5.
O'Reilly stepped in it. It was Merrick Garland and the Biden who prosecuted him. Nope, that was 2019. It was not Biden.
Merrick Garland was still a Trivial Pursuit question for a Supreme Court seat that he didn't get back in 2019. But why would this is what I don't get. Megyn Kelly so close, Laura Loomer so close, Michael Flynn so close. Why would Pam Bondi lie about these files or no files? Why on earth would she take that impetus upon herself? Why can't they get just one step further down the thread and make the connection that she wouldn't just lie for her own benefit? She would lie at the instruction of her boss. Like, I don't know.
This is some well-oiled, machine. Like she didn't just accidentally step in it one day, and now it's a whole thing, right? Remember, Pam Bondi, when she was Attorney General of Florida, was there when the Epstein thing was going on, as well. So she's been involved in this from the beginning. I think Pam Bondi's involvement and all of the pieces that she knows is also fascinating. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't like doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think once you do it once, then it just gives way to all the other conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Okay. But from a political standpoint, this is one of the most fascinating resets I have ever seen. Right. Got to get the list. Got to release the list. We're going to release it. Democrats are hiding it. Deep state. The Democrats are on it. We're going after the power brokers. We get in there. Here's a binder. List is on my desk. No list.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like that your framing of it in highlighting that if they're lying to you about this, what else are they lying to you about? Because the top of this rotten fish is a pathological liar who lies about everything. And he's lied about his promises to the American people right now. And they're lying about what they have just done to Medicaid and SNAP. And this is what they do, right?
Oh, look, the American people know this is James Carville said this the other day. It's the most unpopular piece of legislation since we've been polling about legislation.
Wow.
Ever in the history since we started polling legislation. The most unpopular piece of legislation.
And yet, that is true. When people know what's in it, it is extremely unpopular. But I was talking to, who was it? Governor Beshear. And he was telling me about what shocking percentage of Americans actually do know what's in the bill, and it's a very small percentage. I think it's like 1/3 of Americans
They don't know what's in it. They don't know what's in it. First of all, members of Congress didn't know what was in it. It was 900 pages. They dropped it a day, the day of the vote. Yeah. So they didn't know what was in it. Okay. Right. But the American people know it's bad. They know it's bad. And that goes back to they don't trust the folks that did it.
Yeah.
Right. It's also why on generic balloting in the top 25 races in the country, you're seeing that Dems on generic balloting are up 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, I hate saying that these terrible things that they're doing are opportunities. I always hate framing things that way because they're bad things that are going to hurt a lot of people. But at the same time, I mean, traditionally anyway, the party in power loses some power in midterms, which we're hopefully, God willing, coming up against. But this, I call it the billionaire boner bill. They can call it whatever the fuck they want. They like their bees. But this bill, coupled with this scandal, non-scandal scandal, coupled with immigration, which he's already underwater on as well. There's a whole things brewing here at one time, to your point, that can be advantageous, hopefully, God willing, again, to the Democrats.
Well, that's why they're redistricting in Texas.
Yeah,
right?
Let's talk about that.
What they recognized is if the election were tomorrow, the election were in 18 months, they're in trouble based on the generic balloting that their pollster has done
in the House.
And so now they're going to go and try to redistrict states to figure out where they can to make the amount of seats Democrats have to win to make Hakeem Jeffries speaker higher.
Right.
So they're doing it in Ohio, they're doing it in Texas. There's rumors that they may even try in Florida. So, people need to pay attention to that. Talking about rigged election, they stole the election. Now they're literally like, we'll redistrict right before an election and try to pick up a few seats that way. So that this is not just, hey, Democrats got to go win. They're literally changing the map in mid-cycle.
Yeah, which Well, let's talk. Can they do that, first of all? Because I've seen cases that
Well,
have
of
gone
course,
to the
they
Supreme
can.
Court.
They legally can do a reapportionment. So
Yeah.
that piece is legal. The question is, will the result be legal?
Okay.
Right? Will the gerrymandering, which will clearly get challenged in court, where will that end up?
Yeah, because we've seen this Supreme Court come down not in favor of the gerrymandered maps in places like North Carolina, et cetera. But
here's how that would happen. Here's how that would happen, right? What could happen is Republicans pass this, and then people have to run in the new maps.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for the Supreme Court to toss them out.
And then they have the power, right? This is the thing.
And then they have the power. So the maps get tossed out. Okay, then you got to redraw them. But now we're in the 28 election.
Yeah. So, right. This is part of the problem with handing, the keys to the house to like the rabid squirrels is that once they're in there, they do so much damage that it's hard to undo and it's hard to unfuck the fuckery. But Gavin Newsom has said, okay, two can play at this game, right? So I'm in California.
But then we got to play. Like, I don't like all this gerrymandering stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like it. It's why, quite frankly, one of the reasons Congress doesn't function anymore, because there's no moderate seats. Right?
Yeah.
No one can work together. That's not good for the American people.
Good point.
Okay? And at the same time, if Republicans are going to do this in Texas, Democrats got to play the same game in California. We cannot unilaterally disarm. But we also can't bluff. We can't say we're going to play it. We got to actually do it.
Yeah. And thank you for that. And I agree. Like, look, if you're waiting for the institutions right now to hold you're playing by the old playbook and they've ripped it up and chewed it up and lit it on fire and shit it out, you're going to lose. And we can't be.
Do you usually use a lot of diarrhea analogies?
Yeah, I do. Okay. But I apologize because you deserve better than my potty mouth. So I will try to refrain from more.
It's okay. I am unoffended.
Okay, good. No, I'm just kidding. But I do actually, I want to pivot away from shit talking about Epstein. And I want to pivot to FEMA. And I want to talk about what just happened, is still happening in Texas, because you tweeted, as the former emergency management director of Florida, I'm calling for an immediate investigation by the GOP and the Democrats into basically the handling, if accurate. This is a major deviation from FEMA protocol, and it may have slowed down the response and been a contributing factor, because we're talking about the reporting that Kristi Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until 72 hours after the flooding began. And there's some question about whether or not they had those call centers, because a large percentage of the calls in the days after the flooding were not answered at all. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, so this is like interesting, because a lot of people don't know this about me in my previous life. Like, I was the director of emergency management for the entire state of Florida, and actually for a Republican, I did it under the DeSantis administration, right? So as far as like my assessment of the situation is not a partisan assessment.
Yeah.
Right. I'm telling you exactly what the situation is. Okay. So I want to go to the beginning, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
So the president talks about how FEMA needs reform because of what happened in North Carolina, right? That's what the president was talking about. And really, what happened in North Carolina is the state emergency management department there was slow to act. FEMA had to take it over. FEMA wasn't really prepared to take it over. And that's, you got why it looked like things were slow to move in North Carolina. And so he uses that as a political point. He says FEMA needs reform. FEMA needs reform. And he appoints Kristi Noem as Homeland Security. She has no emergency management experience, no FEMA experience, no Homeland experience, but we have her in here. Here she is.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be the FEMA administrator. They interview a bunch of people. No one wants to be the FEMA administrator. In fact, we don't have a Senate confirmed FEMA administrator. Okay. Kristi Noem starts talking about how she wants to get rid of FEMA. Delete it. We're getting rid of it. Okay. They appoint an interim FEMA administrator, this guy, Cameron Hamilton. And he actually realizes, like, okay, we can reform FEMA, but FEMA's necessary. We can't delete it. He says it publicly. They fire him. Okay. Then Kristi Noem cuts 20% of the department. Okay. They do buyouts. So most of the most senior, most knowledgeable people leave FEMA and take the buyouts, because they're constantly hearing from Kristi Noem that she's going to delete it. She's going to delete it. She appoints a new interim FEMA administrator, David Richardson. He has zero emergency management experience. Right, he's just a lackey. In fact, his experience is in weapons of mass destruction, which would make sense because Kristi Noem's dropped a bomb on the industry. And so So we got this guy. In fact, he didn't even go to Texas. They didn't even take him to Texas on the trip with the president and Kristi Noem because he has nothing to add since he's got no experience. They got rid of the BRIC program, which was a grant program. They are talking about getting rid of preparedness grants. They're saying states need to take more responsibility and build capacity, yet cutting the grants that actually build state capacity. She paused $10 billion worth of aid that was already previously approved under previous disasters, and everything over $100,000 had to come to her for a decision. So in the age of efficiency, DOGE, right, we're making things more efficient. Kristi Noem has actually made FEMA slower. Mm-hmm. Not faster, not better, which was not what the president talked about, right?
Right.
In fact, I actually think some more behind the scenes, there's a disconnect between the West Wing and Kristi Noem. I actually think they're finding out in real time the damage that she did there. They didn't know how bad it was until FEMA didn't show up for 72 hours. I've done those swift water rescue crews. They need to be mobilized within hours. They need to be on the ground within 24 hours. That is protocol. To not mobilize them for 3 days by the time they show up, I mean, these are professionals. These are some of the best, right? I got Task Force 1 and Task Force 2 in Florida. You got swift water rescue crews out of Omaha and New Orleans. She could have moved all of this. They don't wait for states to ask for it. FEMA moves. They go. They move assets into the region. They pre-position them so they're ready to go. Texas is one of the best emergency management programs in the country. And Nimkid being, the director there. If this had, if I'd been director, what would have happened is my phone would have rang from the regional administrator in Florida saying, hey, we're moving resources. Guess what? Florida doesn't have a regional administrator right now because they took the buyout. So that position is open for the entire region. Okay. In fact, the regional offices, most of them are 20, 30% empty because those people took the buyout. So the people that do all of this, right, a lot of them are gone. And then no one wants to make a decision because Kristi Noem has to make every decision. And so we're not going to find out how bad it is until we get to a state that really doesn't have resources like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Something bad happens there during hurricane season where they rely on FEMA to push ice, water, power generation, right? Base camps, all this stuff, meals ready to eat. We're going to see the damage Kristi Noem has done. And, look, the president says, she's doing a great job, but that's what President Bush said about Michael Brown right before he fired him. So we're going to find out, what she's done in real time. It's a disaster within a disaster, quite frankly.
One which the House Republicans do not probably want to investigate. So again...
Well, by the way, it's interesting. They don't want to investigate it, but they also don't want to get rid of FEMA. Right? I mean, Speaker Johnson's from Louisiana, Steve Scalise from Louisiana. They know their state would go bankrupt without FEMA.
Right.
At the same time, they're not going to call out the administration, although I don't see a ton of Republicans running to the microphone to defend Kristi Noem.
No, but there's no accountability in this administration. So she's not going to get fired. He's not going to fire anybody. I mean, he's not even firing the guy who put war plans in a signal chat. Nobody's getting fired. Do you think that there will be accountability here for Kristi Noem for this?
I don't know. I think what Kristi Noem is doing is quite intentional. She told everyone how bad FEMA was. She said we needed to get rid of it, delete it. They can't respond. She then goes and decimates the department so that way she can come out and say, see, we told you. We told you it's not working. We told you need to get rid of it. And I think that'll be the line when FEMA, if FEMA fails because of what she's done, the line will be, see, I told you so. But there are going to be too many people who are going to come out and say, no, actually, while it needed reform and the industry has always agreed with that, what you did was you did destruction.
In the meantime,
instead.
In the meantime, children have been taken away from their families forever. Children are gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst. This is the worst of the worst. I mean, and I saw that when all those kids died at my high school.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
When I was a state rep at the time, I saw what it was like when all these parents were burying their kids. And so what's going on in Texas right now is the worst of the worst. That doesn't mean that all the people who haven't died is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. We're watching parents bury their kids because they went to sleepaway camp, similar to going to school, right? And not coming home. I mean, that stuff will change you in ways you can't even anticipate. I mean, I wear the kids' names around my wrist 7 years later because the stuff I witnessed was unbearable. I can't imagine what's going on with the families at Camp Mystic. And I won't say that A equals B. I won't say that because of what FEMA did or didn't do, more people died. But what I will say is that because of what FEMA did or didn't do, they didn't make the situation better.
Right.
Right. They didn't have the resources that they could have had on the ground faster. I can't say that would have made a difference. We'll never know.
No.
Right. We'll never know. But we didn't give it our best effort. We performed worse. For all the people who say FEMA needs reform, which I agree with, we actually performed worse. This was worse, in my opinion, than North Carolina, because we didn't even make the decisions to mobilize these professionals, these guys who do swiftwater rescue crews. And we're not talking about saving real money. This is going to be a multi-billion-dollar disaster, right? We're talking single $1 million to have mobilized these crews earlier.
Right. And the one through line here from Parkland to Hurricane Helene to this is that the Republicans in Parkland, in the wake of Parkland and in the wake of this storm, said it's too soon to politicize this. We're not talking about politics. This isn't about policy. This is about human lives. And in Helene, they did the opposite. They turned what happened into Helene into a political opportunity to attack Joe Biden and Tom Perez's leadership of FEMA.
Oh, I'm shocked they don't live by their own rules.
It's right. Exactly.
I can't believe that would be the case. And listen, no one wants to politicize this. I'm not interested in politicizing it.
No.
The death and destruction that this community faced and what they're going through should be respected by all Americans. And emergency management used to be bipartisan. We used to come together. Okay, but that doesn't also mean we can't do an after-action review. That is what we do after disasters. What worked, what didn't work? Did the warning system work? Was there enough time? Who got the warning system? Like, who got the warnings, right, on their phones? How much time did it take for the locals to go? How fast did it take for the fire department? How fast did it take to do those evacuations? When did the federal resources get there? When did the state resources get there? When was the EOC opened, right? All of these things to figure out how we can make it better, how we can improve. That's what I'm calling for. What worked, what didn't work. That's an investigation. That's not politicizing it. We do this after every disaster. And so... But this is one of those unbelievable sort of events. It's just so terrible for that community.
Yeah, so my heart, my thoughts, my prayers, everything. I mean, goes out to those people impacted by this. As a mom, it is unimaginable. Right? We don't go there because these are the most unthinkable, horrible things that can happen. And my heart 100% goes out to those people, and just for them, for their sakes, for everyone impacted by this storm and also storms that will be coming. Can you just, to this last point, to this investigation that you'd like, this review of what happened so that we can make, improvements to the system that they have damaged. What would you say? How do we get to this investigation? How crucial to me.
We should have a hearing. We should have a hearing so we can ask the questions that need to be asked.
How do we get there, though? How do we get that hearing?
Republicans in charge of the House. They're the ones that have to call for a hearing. But no, when I get an opportunity on a topic that's relevant, I'm going to pivot to this.
Yeah.
Right? It can't get better if we don't know what didn't work.
Right. And we need to retake the House so that we can... hopefully, be in charge of investigations like these and hearings like these, so that the Republicans can't stop them, because this is too important. So that one more family does not have to experience the loss of a child. It's just, if we can prevent one more family from having to go through this, then we have to. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But thank you for that. And here's the more ass kissing, by the way, when I said I wasn't going to swear. But thank you.
Hold on. I want to enjoy this. Go ahead.
Sit back, relax. No, for real. Thank you for doing this, for raising this issue, this alarm, and for not stopping and letting this be yet another thing that gets swept under the rug and that they distract from or move away from.
I mean, look, government has to work.
Yeah.
And government specifically has to work in Americans' greatest time of need, right?
Yeah.
And that is, God forbid it comes to a war, but disasters are one of those moments when that's when Americans really need local government, state government, and the national government to work.
Yeah.
And watching government fail right? And watching government fail because it was set up to fail, right? It was undermined, which is what I think the secretary has done here. That is what is most disheartening, but it doesn't mean we can't change it. It doesn't mean we can't fix it. And what I hope is that we don't see it happen again in hurricane season. I hope that they learned their lesson from what's happened in Texas, and I hope they're making changes right now and undoing some of the decisions that they've made, recognizing that they own this. This is their FEMA. This is their administration.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We're going to learn in real time this hurricane season.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have a big disaster, because right now that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we don't have a big disaster so that we don't find out these answers, quite frankly. Until
someone is able to rectify the wrongs that have been done. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And these storms don't give a shit about how you vote. They don't care what letters next to your name or whose yard sign you have. They don't care. And so I also hope, and I'm sending lots of love your way and your district's way, because I mean, I don't know how many named storms you typically get there, but I would imagine it's not too small of a number, because I mean, you're on the coast, right?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we haven't had a lot of Atlantic storms, but you're watching the weather patterns that may be changing. There've been more Caribbean storms coming up into the Gulf, into the west coast of Florida. But I was the director of emergency management during the Hurricane Michael recovery and saw what that did to the Panhandle.
Yeah.
And we lost a lot of people in Hurricane Michael. We lost a lot of people in Hurricane Ian as well. And so, so I don't do that job anymore. I do this now.
Mm-hmm.
But I am going to fight for the people at FEMA and for the agency and for emergency management and for our first responders. We got to make sure we invest in that. We got to make sure that they're ready, okay, and that they're prepared, because the one thing that is not happening is that we're not having less of these events. We're having more of these events, and they're more serious, and they're happening in areas where they usually don't happen.
My state, we had a state of emergency last night. We had horrible flash flooding all over my state, not New Jersey. That's not something that happens here every day.
So, that's what I'm going to talk about. One of the things I'm going to talk about in Congress to my background.
And with that, thank you so much, Congressman Moskowitz. A pleasure as always. And really illuminating conversation on super important issues. And not the least of which is this Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And I like you keeping them on their toes, putting them on defense and setting the narrative. So thank you for that.
You got it. Good to be with you.
Before we go, we're just about at midsummer mark, and I'd like to give you an update on my Jersey Fresh tomatoes. Well, I wish I had better news, but last night we got some torrential rain here in Jersey. There was flash flooding that we talked about on this episode, and my beautiful babies, some of which are 7 feet tall, were 7 feet tall, got smushed, absolutely smushed. So I woke up this morning and I went out on my little ladder and I got up there with my tomato wire and my tomato clips, and I tomatoed the best I could possibly do, hoping that those little fragile stems didn't officially break, and that I was able to put them back together kind of like a Humpty Dumpty tomato. So we'll see, but I have yielded some fruit this summer. Unfortunately, they have been consumed by what I'm going to guess is a very large front-toothed squirrel, who I'm going to start setting up cameras or something to make sure I can see what he's been doing to my tomatoes, because he's eaten at least 4 now. And one he just took a bite out of with his little freaking fang teeth and left the tomato rotting on the vine. So there's some updates on my tomatoes, and I will keep you updated on whether or not the ones that really got smushed yesterday survive. I'm going to give them some TLC, and let's hope, because one is called Mr. Stripey or something, and I've never grown that one before, and they looked so promising. Anyway, that's my update on my tomatoes. Well, that's it for today's episode of Sane-ish. If you found something here that fired you up, please rate and review Sane-ish, share it with your people, and join our community on Substack and YouTube for more honest conversations that don't pull punches. Until next time, stay strong, stay sane-ish, and don't let the noise drown out the truth.